Okay, so I have a theory on how the Fantastic Four film introduces Doctor Doom and sets him up as this major threat for Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars, and I think the Fantastic Four are the reason why. So let's start with this core idea, right? Doctor Doom will appear at the end of the Fantastic Four and he'll kill Galactus. Now, right off the bat, it's an incredibly disruptive move and would immediately elevate Doctor Doom to the top of the MCU's villain hierarchy, especially because Kang the Conqueror is basically being moved out of the picture. But more importantly, it fits Doom's character in the comics because he's constantly seeking godlike power through intellect, sorcery, and ambition. So, this theory draws on Jonathan Hickman's Fantastic Four, specifically the introduction of the bridge, which, as a lot of you guys know, is the device that Reed Richards builds to look into alternate realities. Now, of course, in the original depiction of the bridge in Marvel Comics, Reed discovers the Council of Reeds, which is a coming together of variants of himself from across the multiverse, each following this kind of cold logic that was really utilitarian and trying to solve the problem of everything, but also having abandoned their families in the pursuit of this greater goal. Now, in this theory, the council isn't necessary. Instead, we focus on the most essential element. Reed builds the bridge in response to Galactus. So there's three potential reasons for why Reed would have constructed this bridge in this particular theory. The first one feeds into a lot of the narrative that's already out there, which is that Galactus is not native to the Fantastic Four's universe, that by whatever manner and whatever means, Galactus and the Silver Surfer ended up there, and that Galactus was basically trying to find a way back, and in the interim, he's traveling around the cosmos consuming worlds. And so the scene from the trailer, when the Silver Surfer shows up on Earth and tells the Fantastic Four, Galactus is coming, you're all going to die, that's at the very beginning of the movie. And that when Galactus arrives on the scene, Reed Richards basically gets Galactus' story out of him. And then Reed makes a bargain. What if I could get you back home? What if I could find your universe and send you there? And so that's why Reed constructs the bridge. And so most of the movie is focused on various superhero antics of the Fantastic Four, and in the background, Reed is using the bridge to hunt around for Galactus' universe. He never finds it. And so by the end of the movie, when Galactus comes back, which is when you see him walking through the city or you see him looking through the Baxter building, Reed Richards reveals that he ultimately failed. But this is when you get the reveal that Susan is pregnant, and being pregnant with Franklin Richards, having the power to alter reality, Galactus sees Franklin as his ability to get home. But the Fantastic Four are not just going to give up their newborn child to some devourer of worlds. So that's when a fight breaks out, and we get to actually see a conflict between Galactus the Silver Surfer and the Fantastic Four. Now, the second and third theories for why the bridge are formed are kind of the inverse of each other, and potentially both could be true. So let's say, much like the first theory, the Silver Surfer shows up to Earth, tells the Fantastic Four Galactus is coming, but then she gives them a window, and she says, you guys have X amount of time until he gets here. Well, at that point, Reed Richards constructs the bridge, hoping to find some other reality where there's a Galactus there, and the heroes on that Earth manage to stop Galactus. Potentially, he even sees the main Marvel Cinematic Universe along the way, but ultimately he fails. He never finds an alternate reality where Galactus exists. And so there's no real conceivable way to defeat this guy. Now, the third theory here is that Reed Richards constructs the bridge because he's just interested in doing it. He had a theory about the multiverse, wondered if it exists, constructed the bridge in order to see if there are any other universes out there. And it draws the attention of the Silver Surfer and Galactus, like shining a spotlight in the sky. They're just kind of like, what is that? They go over to investigate, and Galactus is like, oh, well, while I'm here, might as well consume your world. But regardless, this is where all three of these theories with the construction of the bridge tie into the idea of Doctor Doom, because the bridge is not just some multiversal telescope. It's a signal flare. Reed thinks he's observing safely, right? But Doctor Doom sees him because a way out is a way in. This could potentially be that moment in the trailer when John Malkovich's character is just seemingly looking into the camera, that whether it's a portal that physically opens, whatever the case is, they become aware of Reed, and by becoming aware of Reed, Doctor Doom becomes aware of alternate realities. And this is where I want to draw on Jonathan Hickman's idea of the Mad Celestials. So in Jonathan Hickman's Fantastic Four, shortly after Reed comes into contact with the Council, one of the members of the Council of Reeds travels to an alternate universe. When he gets there, he realizes the Celestials of that universe had gone crazy with power and conquered everything. But the Mad Celestials captured him, and when they did, they learned about the Council of Reeds. And so the Mad Celestials invaded the Council, and their whole intention was to use the Council. Now, of course, that goes into the rest of Hickman's story, where ultimately it's Franklin Richards from the future who saves his father's life and, alongside Galactus, destroys the Mad Celestials. But let's leave out all of that, with the exception of the Mad Celestials conquering their universe. And let's say instead of the Mad Celestials, it was Doctor Doom. That Doctor Doom destroyed all the superheroes on his Earth, that Doctor Doom conquered the entirety of his universe. And because Doctor Doom is a guy who's always looking to attain higher levels of power, this version of Doom would love nothing more than to conquer the multiverse. But this flips the entire classic trope of what we're used to. Instead of superheroes stumbling into a villain, the villain invades the superheroes. And Doctor Doom does not arrive with any kind of an army or any speech. He shows up during the final battle with Galactus. The Fantastic Four struggle against Galactus, they struggle against the Silver Surfer. They might even temporarily delay each of these guys. Maybe the Surfer even goes so far as to turn against Galactus and join the Fantastic Four. Maybe Reed even derives some kind of theoretical solution to all of their problems, but it's far too late, because what happens is a rift opens up and Doctor Doom steps through. He doesn't help, he doesn't explain, he doesn't say anything. He takes one look around, kills the Surfer on the spot, absorbs the Surfer's power, and then he kills Galactus. And this is not a fight. It's not some grandiose battle. It doesn't stretch on for some huge amount of time. This happens in the span of minutes, because this is a statement that Doctor Doom is not here to help. Doctor Doom is here to conquer. Now, let's break down why this works, because I think this is a really, really cool theory. So number one, it establishes Doctor Doom as a cosmic threat. Right? In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Thanos took years. It took almost 10 years to go from his introduction in the Avengers film to Infinity War and Avengers Doomsday when he finally pulled it off. Doctor Doom doesn't really have that kind of luxury, because we as the audience are really kind of struggling with multiverse fatigue. And so Marvel needs some kind of a villain on the scene who, right out of the gate, immediately it's game on. It would be like if at the end of the first Avengers film, Thanos had already attained the final gem and had assembled the Infinity Gauntlet, and we were off to the races. But Doctor Doom killing Galactus in his first appearance would absolutely shock everybody and would immediately signal Doom's importance. It skips exposition. It skips explanation. It just shows. It aligns with Doctor Doom's comic book canon. His power grabs are well documented. In Secret Wars 2015, he steals the powers of the Beyonder and becomes God Emperor Doom, reshaping reality itself. In other story arcs, he siphons the Silver Surfer's power and battles cosmic forces without flinching. So the idea of Doctor Doom killing Galactus is not outlandish. It's consistent. Now, the second reason why this works, right? It fits the multiverse arc, because Doctor Doom discovering the MCU through the bridge mirrors the narrative of the same logic that was used in Loki and What If and Multiverse of Madness, that the multiverse is chaotic and breaches have consequences. If the Kings can monitor and manipulate timelines, why not Doom? Especially a version of Doom who's merged science and mysticism and then conquered his own universe after doing it. But the big question that I think a lot of people will probably ask here is like, where does the TVA fit into all of this? Well, after Galactus falls, the Marvel Cinematic Universe has to deal with the consequences, right? Enter the TVA, because the TVA has been shown to monitor multiversal threats, and if Reed's bridge triggered a breach, they'd be well aware of it. And if a guy like Doom crossed into the Fantastic Four's universe, killed Galactus, and absorbed his power, they wouldn't just observe, they would intervene. But in my theory, the TVA would appear at the end of the Fantastic Four, not to stop Doom, but to save the Fantastic Four, because Doom now possesses the power of a cosmic constant. The TVA, despite all the vaunted power they have to prune timelines and the whole nine yards, know that they cannot beat Doctor Doom. Because number one, their soldiers don't have enough power to stop him. And number two, because he's in the universe of the Fantastic Four, now he can access the bridge and go anywhere he wants to in the multiverse. But now that Doom has Galactus' power, the question you have to ask is like, what comes next? Well, we have to imagine that Doom is more than a conqueror at this point. Right? He's a god with vision. Perhaps he travels the multiverse, eliminating all the different heroes one by one. Maybe he builds battle worlds, stitching together collapsed timelines like in Secret Wars 2015. We don't really know. The only thing we know, seemingly coming out of the Fantastic Four and going into Avengers Doomsday, is that that's when Doctor Doom makes his move. Now, that's when we fully get to see what Doctor Doom is doing and all the various superheroes that unite against him. But I would go so far as to say that Battleworld will not be the way that it was depicted in Secret Wars 2015 or even Secret Wars 1984. It's not going to be a hodgepodge collection of various universes that were somehow saved from multiversal collapse. Battleworld is going to be called Battleworld for the same reason that it had that name and Secret Wars 1984. That's where the fight takes place. And because ground zero for all of this was the Fantastic Four, it would make perfect sense. That becomes Doctor Doom's new base of operations. The bridge is there, access to the multiverse is there. No one's going to show up there to try to fight him because the TVA can't handle it. So in the background, while he's traveling from one universe to the next, killing off various superheroes, and then retreating back to the Fantastic Four's universe whenever he needs to relax or unwind or what have you, all the other superheroes are going to be marshaling and consolidating their forces in the background, leading to the events of Avengers Secret Wars after the events of Doomsday. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments section. I think it works. I think this is legitimate, but I want to know your all's thoughts. Thank you all for watching, and I will catch you all later. Peace.